My name is Aileen Crowder. I'm 32. I work in nonprofit law and pay off my debts like a good daughter should. I own my apartment in Tacoma outright, left to me by my mother before she died. That fact used to make me feel safe, untouchable even. But safety is a myth we tell ourselves when we still believe people love us. I dragged my suitcase across the cracked sidewalk and wiped rain off my cheeks. Gray skies, silent streets. My front door looked smaller than I remembered. Click. The key still fit, but the air inside was wrong. Warmer. Off. The smell of sweet perfume, not mine. And laughter. From my hallway. That's when I saw them. My husband Derek stood near the kitchen, staring down at his phone. He didn't look up. Beside him, my mother-in-law Marianne was arranging a bouquet on the counter. Tulips. Pink. Artificial, like everything else she touched. I dropped my suitcase. Hey, I'm home. Derek twitched. Marianne turned, smiling like I was a guest. Aileen, she said too sweetly. That was fast. I said I'd be back today. She nodded once, lips tight. I walked down the hall toward the master bedroom. My bedroom. The door was shut. I reached for the handle. Get out. Marianne's voice sliced the air. It's your sister's room now. I froze. Derek finally looked up. Just wait, okay? Excuse me. My hand was still on the doorknob. What did you say? Marianne stepped closer. Cecily's staying here. We gave her your room. You can take the guest one. She doesn't live here. I do. Marianne's smile dropped. Well, things change. Derek stepped forward. Let's not do this now. Do what? I whispered. This is my house. He exchanged a look with his mother. I shoved the door open. The room was changed. My books gone. My framed photo gone. New sheets. Makeup scattered across the dresser. A lavender robe draped over the chair. I stared at it like it was a crime scene. Where's my stuff? Marianne shrugged. Boxed. Somewhere. Why is she in my room? She needed space, Derek said quietly. I own this apartment. He didn't answer. I walked into the kitchen. Something shiny caught my eye, a manila envelope. Paperwork inside. I pulled it out. The heading read, Purchase Agreement, Pending Transfer. What's this? I asked. Derek stiffened. I asked what this is. It's nothing. I flipped through. Signatures. One of them mine. But I hadn't signed anything. I looked up slowly. This isn't my signature. No one spoke. I scanned the buyer info. Cecily Crowder. I laughed once. Short. She's buying my home? Marianne walked over and gently took the folder from my hand. You're overreacting. Tell me you didn't fake this. It's a family matter, she said. Don't make it ugly. A chill crawled up my spine. Did you forge my name? Derek finally met my eyes. You weren't around. We thought it would be easier. Easier. You'll still have somewhere to stay. I stared at him. You lied to me. You sold my house behind my back. It's just paperwork. No, I said. It's theft. Silence. Just the sound of rain ticking against the window. I grabbed my phone. I'm calling a lawyer. You might want to check your account first, Marianne said quietly. I believe there's been a change. My hands shook as I opened my banking app. The screen loaded. Error. Another try. Password invalid. I looked up. Marianne sipped her tea. Derek turned away. I couldn't breathe. I whispered, That's not my signature. Then louder, clearer, and that's not my home anymore. The condo hallway smelled like damp carpet and old memories. I paced. Rain hit the windows like a warning. My suitcase still sat by the door unopened. I opened my laptop, fingers shaking. I logged into the county assessor's site, Pierce County, Washington. Typed the address. Enter. The document listed a pending transfer. Buyer, Archer D. Lyle. Date of transfer, next Thursday. I froze. That's not a person I've ever met. That's not my husband's name. Truth doesn't need a witness. It needs a voice. I whispered it to the screen, but it sounded hollow. My real name was still listed as owner. For now. Cut. I called the bank. West Puget Sound Credit Union. A recorded voice. Due to recent activity on your account, you must speak to a loan officer. I waited on hold. Minutes or maybe hours. Time blurred when everything felt wrong. A woman's voice finally came on. Your account is restricted. Someone else attempted changes using your SSN last night. Restriction. Transfer hold. Paperwork flagged. I hung up. Pulse slammed against my ribs. They used my identity. Next stop. County Recorder's office downtown. Gray concrete. Raincoat dripping on the sidewalk. Inside, I approached the clerk booth. I need a certified copy of all deeds transferred from this address in the last year, I said. She raised an eyebrow. You'll need a photo ID. I handed my driver's license, unshaved, worn. She typed in, your ID matches the current deed. Any pending transfers are on hold because of a dispute claim. I forced calm. So why does the online record still show a transfer pending under Archer D. Lyle? She frowned at her screen. I don't know, ma'am. That must be an error or a third-party attempt. You should talk to the title company listed. Title company. The same name as on the bogus contract. Thank you, I said. I left. Rain washed over me as if trying to cleanse the memory of betrayal. But water can't wash off a scar. Back in my car. Engine running. The wipers swiped across, smeared windshield as droplets raced each other. A black SUV idled across the street. Engine off. Headlights dim. Nothing else moved. A figure sat inside. Hood up. Face turned away. The passenger door opened, slow. A cardboard box was placed beneath the seat. Then the door snapped shut. I pressed record on my phone. Zoomed. The license plate was obscured. I filmed anyway. Footsteps on wet pavement. I locked the doors. Engine cut off. I stayed still. The SUV drove away. No lights, no signal. Just quiet. My heart pounded. They were watching. Cut. I returned to the condo with bagged groceries, tuna cans, and bread. I didn't have an appetite, but I needed motion. Sitting made me think too much. Mailbox ping. A letter inside. No return address. I tore it open. A single sheet of paper. Typed words. Transfer confirmed. Congratulations. Dweller, Archer D. Lyle. Nothing else. No signature. No stamp. Another lie stained the paper. I held it under kitchen light. The words seemed to float on water. Blurred, shifting, like the world around me had tilted and wouldn't right itself. I dropped the sheet. It slid across the linoleum floor, landed near the fridge. The hum of the appliance sounded like judgment. I covered my ears. Staying silent does not make pain disappear. I thought. My phone vibrated. Unknown number. I stared. Didn't answer. A second later, a text. Why fight? You lost. Black letters. No punctuation. Absolute. I backed into the hallway. Behind me, my old bedroom door locked. New lock. Clean. Silent. And empty. I hit speed dial. My father's number. No answer. Again. Nothing. Vibrate. Voicemail. I left a message. Dad, they tried to steal the house. I don't know who else to trust. No reply. Cut. Midnight. Lights off. I lay on the sofa, eyes open. Rain battered the window nearby. The condo felt small. Trapped. I thought about the promise my mother had made me. She willed me the condo only if I survived. Not just died. Survived. I never believed survival was more than paying bills. Now I knew better. Footsteps outside. Metal clink. Door handle rattled. I snapped awake, blood cold. Sneaked to the peephole. Nothing. Empty hull. Heart in my throat. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe not. I whispered into darkness. They're already inside. Tension twisted inside my chest like a cord, pulling tight. And I was the only one holding the end. Rain had stopped. Sky still gray. I moved fast. Every instinct told me to run. Hide, let a lawyer clean it up. But instincts can lie, especially the ones trained by trauma. If I wanted the truth, I had to chase it myself. First stop, Ruby Hanford's apartment, 4th floor, 1 building over. She opened the door halfway, then pulled me in without a word. The scent of mint tea and stale wood filled the room. A tabby cat stared at me from the windowsill like it knew more than it should. You saw someone, I said. Ruby nodded slowly. 3 nights ago. Tall man. Gray hoodie. Entered your building around 11. With Cecily. Did he say anything? I record my front door, she said, already walking toward a battered laptop on the table. Click. Play. Static hissed, then a low male voice. Delivery for Miss Crowder. Pause. She's expecting me. I leaned in. It wasn't Derek's voice. Ruby turned. Sound familiar? No, my chest tightened. But I'm going to find out who the hell he is. You should be careful, honey. You're walking into something rigged. I nodded. That's the only way to break it. Cut scene. Tacoma Public Library. 4:15 p.m. Rows of old computers, the glow of blue screens lighting tired faces. I sat in the back, hood up, headphones in. I traced the buyer name on the fake house contract, the one Cecily submitted. Authorization signed by Archer D. Lyle. Lyle. Same last name as Derek. Not his middle name. Not on any records I could access. But the name wasn't invisible. I found it on a business filing in Pierce County. Frontline Housing Solutions, LLC. Registered 5 years ago. Owner, Archer D. Lyle. Address, a private office suite near the marina. Another cut. Night. I waited outside the building, tucked between parked cars, watching. 9:04 p.m. The door buzzed. A man stepped out. Gray hoodie. Face half lit by the street lamp. Not Derek, but something in his posture. He moved like Derek. Same shoulders. Same gait. My breath caught. I stepped forward, phone ready. Then, flash of headlights. I ducked back. The man got into a black Nissan and pulled off without looking back. I checked the LLC file again. One emergency contact was listed. Howard Crowder. My father. My dead father. Except he wasn't dead. He left when I was 12. Disappeared during a fraud investigation in Sacramento. I hadn't heard from him in 20 years. Mom never spoke of him again. So why the hell was his name on my stolen house file? I stared at the screen. Nothing made sense. Back to the apartment. Back to the silence of walls that used to be mine. I passed my old bedroom door locked. Inside, Cecily was probably sleeping like she hadn't stolen my life. In the kitchen, a light blinked on the answering machine. Old tech. Marion never upgraded. One new message. I pressed play. Hey, Archer. Meeting moved to Friday. Use backstairs, same time. My lungs froze. Derek. His voice. He called someone else Archer. And he said it like it was normal. I gripped the counter. Truth doesn't just cut, it severs. Derek wasn't just helping them. He was them. Archer D. Lyle wasn't a business partner. It was him. He had a second name, a second life, a paper trail carved to erase mine, a marriage built on fraud, a family built on forgery. I stepped back, bumping into the fridge. Cold metal, heart pounding. The bathroom mirror flashed with movement. I turned. Nothing. Still I felt it. That itch behind your neck when you're being watched. I wasn't alone in that apartment. But I didn't run. I pulled out my phone, took a breath and whispered into the quiet. Derek Lila's Archer. And I married the man who's erasing me. Saturday, 2:07 a.m. The street outside Ruby's building was empty. Tacoma wind howled between rows of shuttered shops and dim porch lights. I sat in her kitchen with a whiskey glass I didn't touch. I want to hit them where it hurts, I said. Ruby lit a cigarette, inhaled slow. Then don't scream. Steal. That's how it started. Cut 2. Sunday morning, 9:15 a.m. I met Juno Brett at the back of the Broken Elm Cafe. Skinny. Too young, jittery fingers. Ruby vouched for her. Failed theater major. Current barista. Addicted to chaos. Perfect. I need you to be my buyer, I told her. You'll buy my condo. Just once. Just for show. What's the payout? Survival. She grinned. Love it. Contracts printed. Blank checks forged. We practiced timing, language, expression. You're transferring $200,000 for a condo in North Tacoma. Ask for the building's bylaws. Complain about plumbing. Juno nodded like she'd done this before. Maybe she had. You really think this'll work? Ruby asked. I looked at the contract. They faked my signature. We'll fake their sale. Cut. That night, I slipped back into the condo. Derek was out. Cecily's door was closed, light seeping underneath like something toxic. I opened the drawer by the kitchen counter, pulled out the original forged documents, switched them with mine, left the folder out, just enough misaligned to tempt a second look. Then, footsteps. Shit. I ducked behind the kitchen island. The front door opened. Voices. 2 of them. Derek. And Cecily. We push it forward, she said. Marianne wants it done. And the trust. Already flagged. Once it clears, everything's ours. I'm not splitting with her. You won't have to. They moved toward the kitchen. I held my breath. If Aileen says anything, Derek muttered, we pin it on a technicality. Say she was unfit. I always said she wasn't stable. Cecily laughed. Then, softer. She never belonged. Even when Mom died, she acted like she owned the grief. Silence. Then, we finish this tomorrow. Noon. Click. Fridge door. Glass bottles clinked. I waited for the sound of the front door closing before I exhaled. They were moving fast, so I had to be faster. Cut scene. Monday. 10:58 a.m. Public Plaza. I wore a gray coat, hair tied back. Juno arrived 2 minutes late, heels clicking like gunshots. She looked the part, clipboard, briefcase, fake Rolex. We stood outside the condo. From across the street, a black SUV sat parked. Inside, Cecily, sunglasses on, phone in hand, probably recording. Smile, I whispered. They're watching. Juno laughed, loud enough to carry. Pleasure doing business with you, Ms. Crowder. We shook hands. She held out the envelope. Inside, fake cashier's check. Bank of Puget Sound. Marked void in microprint. I handed over keys. Theirs. But not really. Any issues with the plumbing? Juno asked, playing her role. Second floor runs cold sometimes. From the corner of my eye, Cecily lowered her phone. Good. We walked into the building. Hallway dim. I led her to my old unit. She entered, looked around like a realtor. Damn, she whispered. They redecorated like it's theirs. Because they think it is. Back outside, I felt my phone buzz. Unknown number. Text only. You're not the only one playing games. I looked around. No one visible. But the SUV was gone. Cut. I returned to Ruby's. Laptop open. Files decrypted. A restored folder blinked back at me. Crowder_trust.pdf. I clicked. My mother had locked the property under a clause. May not be sold or reassigned without direct written consent of Aileen Crowder. They couldn't sell it. Not legally. And they knew. This wasn't just about the condo. It was about the trust. About something bigger, deeper, older. I scrolled further. A memo. Attached to the file. Signed by Howard Crowder. Date stamped 3 weeks ago. I stared at it. He was alive. The man who walked out of my life 20 years ago was signing off on my erasure. That's the thing about family, Ruby said behind me, reading over my shoulder. They bury you smiling. My hands shook. And for the first time in this whole mess, I wasn't scared. I was furious. On Saturday at 2 p.m., I would either win everything back or disappear exactly as they planned. Saturday, 1:46 p.m. The condo was silent. I stood by the window, watching the street below. Rain hit the glass in slow, deliberate taps. Across the street, the black SUV was gone. No sign of Cecily. No Derek. Ruby texted, "Everything ready?" I typed, "Let's burn it down." Cut scene. 1:55 p.m. A knock at the door. Juno arrived first, hair tied, blazer tight. She played the buyer again, clipboard in hand. Beside her, a notary I hired through a paralegal site. Everything legit. Everything documented. Except none of it was real. This was the sting. "I'll sign first," I said, sliding the revised contract onto the table. "But not until my sister shows up." She confirmed. Juno asked. "She thinks she's closing the deal. She thinks I'm backing out." Juno smirked. "She's going to hate this." 1:59 p.m. The door didn't open. No Cecily. I called her. Straight to voicemail. "Maybe she got cold feet," Juno said. "She doesn't get cold. She gets bold." I stepped out into the hall. The building was too quiet. 3rd floor. Apartment 3C. Her room. I knocked. Nothing. Knocked again, harder. Still nothing. I pulled a bobby pin from my pocket. Old trick I'd learned from Ruby during the pandemic when we'd locked ourselves out of her place. Twist. Slide. Click. The door opened. Lights off. Curtains drawn. I flicked the switch. The room was trashed. Drawers open. Makeup spilled. Closet empty. The bed unmade. A duffel bag gone. I scanned the floor. One broken heel. A pair of ripped nylons. Her phone charger still plugged in. She left in a hurry. No blood. No sign of a fight. But something was off. My pulse started climbing. People don't run right before a payday. Cut scene. Back in the kitchen. I opened the condo's smart lock history. Cecily's profile. Guest 2. Last opened the door at 6:12 a.m. Never came back. Derek's profile? No activity since Thursday. "I want the camera footage," I said. Ruby had hacked into the building's external feeds the night before. She sent over a compressed zip. I opened it on my laptop. The file named front door, 6 a.m. There she was. Cecily. Hoodie on. Sunglasses. Dragging the duffel bag. Behind her, a man. Not Derek. Older. Broad shoulders. Gray hair. He didn't touch her, but he followed too close. Too fast. Next frame, a black SUV. Same one from before. Cecily got in. The man didn't. He walked away. Toward the alley. Toward the marina. I zoomed in. The image blurred, then focused. A small tattoo on his wrist. Letters, HC. Howard Crowder. My father. He took her. Cut. 2:22 p.m. I stepped out into the hallway. Phone in hand, video frozen on his face. And there, just outside the stairwell, Derek. He wasn't supposed to be here. "You're early," I said, voice flat. He looked tired. Pale. Sweat on his collar. "Where's Cecily?" he asked. "You tell me." His jaw tightened. "She was supposed to meet me at noon. She never showed. Your dad picked her up." He blinked. "What?" "Howard. Crowder. He's alive. And you knew." Derek stared at me like I'd slapped him. "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie." "I thought he was dead." You faked a second identity using his initials. He didn't deny it. I stepped closer. Did you set her up? Or did she vanish before you could? I've been locked out of the accounts, he muttered. What? He swallowed. Last night, passwords changed. I thought she was moving without me. And now, she's gone. The door behind me creaked open. Juno stepped out. Notary's leaving. Do we call off the signing? Derek stared at her, then at me. He looked scared. This isn't about money anymore, I whispered. Is it? No. Then what is it? He didn't answer, but I saw it, the flicker behind his eyes. He didn't lose control. He never had it to begin with. Sunday, 5:12 p.m. Tacoma Marina, West Pier. Gray sky, salt wind, gulls circling like watchers. I stood alone at the end of the pier, the waves slapping the wooden pylons below. I knew this spot. My father used to bring us here when Cecily and I were kids, back when we still thought secrets were things that could be buried. But the thing about the tide, it always returns what's hidden. A phone buzzed in my coat. Unknown number. You have 5 minutes. Dock 14. I walked. My boots echoed. The marina was quiet, almost staged, like someone had cleared the scene. Dock 14 came into view. A yacht, mid-sized, expensive. The name, Inheritance. Of course it was. Cecily stood on deck. Pale, hair matted, hands shaking. Beside her, Howard Crowder. Still alive, still cold-eyed, still pretending he hadn't vanished for 20 years and let the rot fester. You came, he said. I didn't answer. Family always comes home eventually. Cecily looked at me. Not defiant, not cruel, just broken. They told me you'd kill the deal, she said quietly. That you'd bury Mom's wishes. That you were trying to erase us. They lied. She exhaled. I know. Howard stepped forward. They didn't lie. They just believed what I gave them. He opened a manila envelope, pulled out a set of original trust papers, my mother's signature, notarized. I gave them just enough truth to make the lie believable. I stared at him. You were supposed to be the compliant one, he said. The forgotten one. That's what made you safe. You faked your death. No, he said, smiling. I let it be assumed. He turned to Cecily. Tell her. She swallowed. He told me if I got you out of the condo, if I helped shift the assets, I could fix it. Everything Mom left behind. He said you didn't want any of it. Did you believe that? She didn't answer. I pulled a flash drive from my coat, tossed it on the table near the helm. Full recording. Every conversation. Every forged document. You tied Derek to it, but you didn't expect he'd panic. Howard's smile flickered. Leverage is a beautiful thing, I said, until someone with nothing left to lose walks in. You think this ends in a courtroom? He said. No, I said. It ends now. I pulled a folded sheet from my pocket, a restraining order, filed under my mother's name and sealed until death. It named Howard Crowder as emotionally abusive, financially coercive, and legally unfit to act on her behalf. This has been sitting in a probate lockbox since 2020, I said. You were never supposed to have access to her estate. His eyes hardened. Behind us, footsteps. Detective Mallory. Not plain clothes. Badge out. Gun visible. Mr. Crowder, she said, you're under arrest for multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to defraud an estate. He didn't resist. Didn't flinch. As they cuffed him, he looked at me and said, Legacy isn't about love. It's about control. I said nothing. Cecily fell to her knees. Cut scene. 3 weeks later. Courtroom. My name was restored as sole trustee. The condo? Mine again. But that wasn't the victory. The victory was in knowing I had stood, fought, refused to be erased. Ruby leaned in during the hearing and whispered, You didn't just win. You rewrote the ending. And she was right. Not because I reclaimed a house, but because I reclaimed myself. Cut 2. Condo balcony. Dusk. I stood alone, coffee in hand, wind soft against my face. Some endings come quietly. No explosions. Just a breath. A choice. You don't have to carry the damage, I whispered to no one. You just have to outlive it. Because family can be a weapon, but sometimes it can also be the reason you sharpen your edge.